Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Air. Now, when I first heard about this movie, it when I talked about it, it didn't really seem that many people really heard about this movie when it was getting released. But I do really like movies that actually tell the real story about a business or a company or just anything that's kind of based on a real life event. So I was very interested in Air. And also knowing the story about Michael Jordan as well, how the Air Jordan brand became a global success, not just for basketball, but also just sneaker culture around the world. I really think this was definitely a movie on my radar to really see how impressive that they can actually get the message of this movie out. And watching the movie, I could safely say they definitely did that. And this film is actually amazing. I think everything from this movie really excels in its acting, its pacing, its structure of the movie, and I could safely say that this is actually a amazing movie that I could definitely recommend you guys watch. Now I'm going to kind of give you a little summary of this movie that's actually based on a real life event in itself. So basically how this movie is, it basically is in the period of 1984 where basketball is being well known, and basically Nike was losing competition in market shares compared to its competitors. So they wanted to try and sign a new upcoming basketball player into their brand to really up their market shares and really try and compete in the basketball market. And obviously, with them having less shares than its competitors, it obviously leads to a lot of the players going to other brands. So really, this movie really tries and tells the story of how Nike really wanted to get a very expensive, lucrative deal for Michael Jordan, and really tied the Air Jordan brand to him. And I think that the plot in itself is a really inspirational plot. In fact, really, the Air Jordan brand, not just as a basketball shoe, is actually a shoe that really defines sneaker culture as a whole. And I think even now, I think it's been used as like an investment for a lot of people because obviously Jordan brands, Jordan models have its own investment over time. In fact, I even got one myself that I haven't even used yet. So it's pretty much still sitting in my box because they could pretty much be sold for more money because the brand itself has become very popular over time. But also, what this movie does really excel in is its acting. I think the actors in this movie were really impressive. They really take the script very seriously to really connect to the dialogue of this story very well. And I think one in particular that I think really stood out is Matt Damon, who plays Sonny Vaccaro, who is basically one of the Nike basketball branded coordinators. So he's basically someone who is trying to look for basketball players to really sign with Nike. And obviously, in the beginning period, it hasn't gone well, but he really does show his acting presence in this movie very well because he delivers such strong emotions and dialogue that makes it really impactful and powerful. So he really shows commitment, hard work, and drive in this film to really sort of say that, as a business person, I really want to work with you, deliver a shoe to you that has your name, your brand on it, and he really does deliver a powerful performance. I mean, all the actors do very well as well. Ben Affleck plays well as his character, who he plays as the Nike CEO, and his name is Phil Knight. And yeah, he comes across as a CEO who's very stressed out, really trying to think of solutions. And maybe he's kind of at the beginning very naive with Sonny because of obviously disagreements of how they could move the Nike brand forward and trying to bring it into the basketball business. And I think they really do have such amazing chemistry. It really does deliver really hard work, and also it demonstrates conflict very well, but then it really kind of builds that up as something that's really constructive in how they really build the business up. But also, what I would say is also really impressive as well is its sequencing and its pacing. So I never felt watching the movie it ever slowed down, and every single interaction and dialogue was really had such an amazing build up every single time. So it really built up something more interesting, more constructive, and it actually really made something that was more impactful in how, in each step of the way, what Nike were doing to come across with a lucrative deal for Michael Jordan for the Air Jordan brand, the Air Jordan shoe. It really built that up so impressively. And the story and the connecting, the way that they kind of interact with Jordan's parents as well as with Sonny, I think that was really good. So there was really hardly any. I don't think this movie ever lacked moments in that regard. I think one moment that really stood out in particular was when uh, Michael Jordan's mum was calling Sonny that he actually wanted to Michael Jordan wanted to accept Nike's offer, and really that whole telephone call that probably lasted around a few minutes had such a big impact. There was strong negotiations. There was ways to construct a deal moving forward, and they really made the shoe his personality. And I think that really had such a big message. And I think the message overall really tied people into it. So really, that scene in particular really stood out the most. But there's also lots of great scenes as well, great dialogue and interactions, and never ever felt that this movie ever slowed down. I mean, the movie's not long in itself, so it's less than 2 hours long, but every scene had something to progress with, and I think they definitely did a very good job delivering that message and kind of delivering that particular with how the Nike brand really can actually compete in the market with basketball when it was really struggling with its competitors. Now, if I was being slightly critical about this film, I do wish that this movie actually did have more scenes with Michael Jordan and how he can market the shoe. So we don't really see a lot of Michael Jordan in this movie. But I will kind of be a little bit more sympathetic because I do feel this movie was more about how Nike were trying to build up the brand itself and how it competes with the market for basketball and how they tried to sign Michael Jordan onto the Air Jordan brand. So I could be more sympathetic to the fact that there wasn't so much of Michael Jordan in this movie. And bear in mind that back then he was only 18 years old when he come across this lucrative deal. So I think kind of for him, knowing himself what he was getting into, it would have been really a I don't think this movie would have been so much centered just on him, but I think mostly the Nike brand itself. But that critique aside, very minor. And overall, if I had to rate this movie, I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10. Very little complaints about this film, virtually none, apart from that minor critique. But everything about this movie stood out as a great drama, as a great true story, and it's actually an inspirational movie. And I think it really shows for a lot of people that want to work hard, they can really achieve that by showing determination, commitment, and when things are going really bad, they could really excel very high. I think now Air Jordan itself is now worth over billions of dollars, and I think Michael Jordan himself, because he has shares in the Air Jordan brand, he makes about at least millions upon millions of dollars, or even up to the billions. So really, it just shows how impactful this story is for building not just a basketball shoe, but also a popular shoe in sneaker culture, building up the Nike brand, and how it even bought out its competitors. So it even bought out Converse in 1996. So yeah, absolutely great movie. If you're a sports fan or a sneaker fan or just a fan of business movie and dramas, this is definitely a must watch. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.